Hi, how are you? In this clip, I'm going to talk about SWOT analysis. So, what is SWOT analysis? If you haven't been to a business school or just finished your high school, haven't been working for long, you probably haven't heard of this term before. But if you've been to a business school or been working for a few years, you would have known what is a SWOT analysis. SWOT, SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is a thing that we do, right? It's an analysis that we do on businesses, on the products that we have, in order to find out their strengths and weaknesses, right, within the company, or about the brands, about your products, about your services, or even about yourselves, about the entrepreneurs, or about the staff that you have, the team that you have within the company. So the strengths. Weaknesses means well, the flip side of your strengths. If you are fast, you probably have the weakness of size. You don't have a strong financial position. So weaknesses of your company, weaknesses of your products, right? Maybe your product is really new, right? It hasn't have an established reputation. So these are weaknesses that you need to acknowledge. Uh, you know, Weaknesses about the level of skills that you have, right, or the staff that you have, and lack of experience maybe because you have young staffs who are vibrant, that are their strengths, but on the other hand, on the flip side, they don't have a lot of experience. That could be a weakness, right? Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Opportunities and threats exist mainly outside the company, right? So what are the opportunities that you can tap into? What are the opportunities in the coming trend, that you see, and how can you capitalize on them? And threats are coming from your competitors, your direct and indirect competitors. For example, McDonald's have a threat on face a lot of threats from other existing fast food brands, healthy alternatives, or maybe more interesting varieties. And they also face indirect competition from some frozen meals that you find in the supermarket, or even people like Jamie Oliver promoting the idea of cooking fresh, eating fresh. All right, so that could be your indirect competition. So your indirect competition also comes in the form of ideas. You see, so SWOT analysis is all about how you make use, or make the fullest use, right, of your strengths in order to use them to capitalize on the opportunities that you can identify within the industry, and also how to rectify your weaknesses, how to use the strengths to compensate for your weaknesses in order to withstand, right, the possible threats that you will face, right, in the industry, outside the company, right, changing trends, all right, changing tastes of the consumer, right. So when you talk about opportunities and threats, you also have a set of acronyms, because opportunities and threats exist in the external environment. So that external environment can be examined on several levels, right? Say, for example, on the political level, right? Is the government policies favorable to your business, right? Do you have good political connection, right, with the ruling party at the moment, right? Will they be passing laws that are unfavorable to your businesses, right? So politics and legal, factor, right? P, and then you have E, the economics, right? The economic trends, right? The economy, right? At the moment, right? What is the economic outlook for the next 5 years? Is it on the uptrend or on the downtrend, right? And then you have sociological or social cultural, right? PES, right? The third element is the social cultural or sociological factors, means the cultural trends, right, of the youth today, right? They're becoming more Americanized. Is it a good thing for you, or is it a bad thing for you, right? If you are selling coffee beans, right, to China, so that could be a good trend, right? That could be a good outlook, positive outlook for your product, because Traditionally, China is a tea drinking culture, but right now there are more and more young people accepting the idea of having a cup of coffee every day, right? Just like what happened to China, to Japan, right, decades ago, right, when it was mainly a tea drinking society, but today the coffee bean consumption in Japan is one of the highest in the world, right? So China is also going down that path. So it's a positive trend. But then again, if you are in the business of selling tea leaves, you could perhaps be facing, you know, a negative trend, right? And SWOT analysis is also about turning your weaknesses into strengths, right? And using your existing strengths, harness them to become an even bigger set of strengths, right? So it's not only about, okay, identifying one set of strengths, or here are my set of weaknesses. It's also about how you position your weaknesses in such a way that also become strengths, so that you can capitalize on those opportunities. And also turning the threats into opportunities as well, right? Depending on how you position yourself, right? So you might not change, right, the composition of a company, significantly in a short time, but you can position yourself in such a way that, your strengths can capitalize on the opportunities, and the threats can also be seen from a different direction in order to, be tapped as a set of opportunities. Right, and the last element is called the technology, PEST. Right, so on the technological level, is this industry offering you opportunities, or is it a threat? Right, for example, are the infrastructure, conducive to your business? So if you are, you know, an e-business, you're into e-commerce, you would have to look at the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure, the internet accessibility of the country. For example, in Indonesia, you have companies like Rakuten.com, right? They sell products on the internet, right? Um, at the moment, they are facing a lot of difficulties, as I have read from some articles, because the road system isn't that well developed, right? The infrastructure, and also the internet connection is not that good at the moment. So as it turned out, most of the sales that were most of the transaction that has happened, right, in the for the business, happened around sometime 1 or 2 hours before lunchtime, and most of them conduct their electronic purchases, electronic shopping, while they're in the office, because most of the home internet connections are really slow, right? And also the Rakuten company also has their own courier services. They have their own transportation and distribution system in place. They own a fleet of motorcycles, motorbikes, in order to deliver those products, or vans, because the courier services aren't that well developed as well. And also there's a problem with the addresses, and also the GPS system. It's very hard to find certain addresses, and they cannot get it from the internet, from the GPS system. Right? So these are some of the challenges, but at the same time, depending on how you look at it, it is also a whole set of exciting opportunities. That means those problems, those so-called threats, are preventing a lot of competitors to go in at this moment. So if Rakuten go in 10 years earlier than them, they will have a head start, and when they have become established long enough, entrenched into the society, have a very strong position in the minds of the customers, then this is a very exciting opportunity for Rakuten, right? So it all depends on how you look at it. Now the next thing I'd like to talk about is, okay, now Just now we're talking about the PEST, and certain textbooks you see that they talk about PESTEL. All right, E, the last E stands for ecology, right? Because today a lot of business decisions has to be sustainable, has to be ethical, because customers today are also getting more educated, right? They're more demanding. They want to make sure that doing businesses, they're doing business with corporations that operates in line with their own values and belief system, right? Otherwise, they'll just take their money and go elsewhere, right? So, the most powerful vote is the way they vote with dollars. And the last element of the environment is L, PESTEL. L stands for legal, which also ties in very nicely with the first element, which is politics, right? Politics, politician, political power, political connection, political clout, right? And also the policies, which in turn dictates the kind of legislations, right, that will affect your business, right? And also the ideology of the ruling party, right? Are they on the right side of politics or on the left side of politics? What kind of principles they hold dear to, right? So these are all very important elements in the environment, right, that will become threats as well as opportunities that will in turn affect your business. Right, now before I end this clip, I also like to talk about SWOT analysis and us as a person, right, as human beings, as individuals. SWOT analysis and our children, right, or the young people, right? The earlier we have this SWOT analysis, the better. You don't have to wait until you go to business school to understand what a SWOT analysis is. In fact, you can apply this right here, right now, or think about it, or conduct a little SWOT analysis every day before you go to bed, or every morning, right, while you are brushing your teeth, and getting ready for the day. Because SWOT analysis really is about fully utilizing your strengths. Your strengths are sometimes people call it a gift, right? Some people are born with certain talents, right? Don't put that to waste. Don't let that go to waste. You got to start somewhere, and the best place to start is your strengths, because most of us are good at doing what we love doing. Because when we love what we do, right, we will spend time effortlessly on them, right, and we spend so much time on them that we become good at these things. So then they become our strengths, and our strengths usually lies within our passion, right? So and if you know you are good at certain things, hold dear onto it. Don't care what others tell you, because they might think that what you're doing are not important, but it's important to you. Then it's important enough for you to continue doing that, right? Even if those things doesn't mean anything to anyone, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So if you know what your weaknesses are, right, then you try not to do things that require so much of that that part of you, right? So you are not good with numbers. You shouldn't force yourself to become an accountant. I mean, you can force yourself to do it, but you're killing yourself, right, one bit at a time every day, right? Because you don't get, you're not doing it with your heart, you're doing it with your mind, right? And your mind can only go so far, right, when it's not supported by your heart. It's not natural extension of you. So if you think that you like to build relationships and like to help people solve problems, and you think that marketing is more suitable for you, then you go get some jobs that requires you to build good relationship with the people around you, right? to promote the brand of your business, of your company, right? And in the process, in the course of that, you might at some stage have to learn something about budgeting, about accounting, about financial control. So be it. But because you start with your passion, so you go into those areas one step at a time, and you go in such a way that you see that they really mean something to you. For example, Richard Branson, right? He is definitely not someone who loves books. In fact, he was declared a dyslexic, right? Dyslexical means some people just can't read. They look at the words, they don't make sense to them, right? They're just not good with words. So what did he do, right? He dropped out from school, from high school, and then started his business. And when he was doing his business in the course of trying to improve the customers' lives, right? And then he has to manage his accounts. Then he learned about accounting from there. And when he approached accounting from a different perspective, it all makes sense to him because he comes from what he was passionate about first. So if you like certain things so much, and in the course of doing that thing, right, you face some obstacles that are not your areas of strength, you will see a purpose of trying to get over those problems, trying to meet those challenges, because now it all makes sense to you. Because it all makes sense to you because in order for you to continue your passion, you need to understand the set of accounts. In order for your business to survive, the books has to balance. In order for your business to grow, you need to manage your cash flow properly. Right? So now it all makes sense. And when there is a sense of purpose, nothing can stop us. Right? When you see how that accounting knowledge can help you further advance your interests in your area of passion, then you will do it one step at a time. For example, the Japanese might not necessarily like technology because before the Industrial Revolution or 4 centuries ago, all right, their culture were pretty much the Chinese culture. Their philosophy were pretty much Confucius, ideologies, Confucius philosophy, Confucian teachings, right? But then they know that, at the turn of a century, the West are coming in, the Westerners are coming in to try to open up, their doors to do trade on the unfair terms because they have the cannons, they have the battleship right in front of their port, right? They knew then and then that if they continue doing that, they will end up like what China, ended up with. So therefore, they do it one step at a time. What was the passion? The passion was to survive, right? In order for the civilization to continue, they then have to open up, right, so that they can compete on a more equal ground with the Westerners. So then they have a major shift, right? Instead of learning from the Chinese, they now learn, right, in very drastic efforts from the West. You see, and it all makes sense. But the Chinese that time did not see the point. They did not see the whole point of it. Right? They don't approach that industrialization or westernization from their passion. They don't see it as a survival strategy. So therefore, they stay stagnant, right? They keep on doing what they were doing, even though it didn't work, right? Even though it was against their advantage, against their interest. You see, so whether a person succeed or not, really depends on how he or she, or how thoroughly he or she has done his SWOT analysis, right? So everything that we do, right, we have to relate that to our SWOT analysis. I'm thinking about Datuk Joey Yap. Joey Yap, he's a feng shui consultant, right? He headed this group called Joey Yap Consulting Group, and his job is to help people identify their strengths using Chinese astrology, using 八字, using feng shui, right? And it ties in really well with business consultation, with business consultancy, right? And his strength also is he has a accounting degree, he has a Western education, he's multilingual, and combine that with the ancient wisdom of feng shui. He's doing so. I mean, you know how well he's doing. You don't need me to remind you how well he's doing right now, not only in Malaysia, Southeast Asia, but the whole world. In fact, the first time I saw him on TV was after a news in Australia, right, on Australian TV, because he was on his tour to Australia to give seminars, right, to a room full of audience in the thousands, in the tens of thousands. Can you believe it? All right. So that's how powerful SWOT analysis is, right? You don't need to go to business school to learn about it, and you don't need to just use SWOT analysis only when you write a business plan. You are the business, you are the plan, and you do SWOT analysis on yourself, and everything will fall into place. That's all I want to say. Have a good day. Bye bye.